So, hello, welcome back to another episode of the Self Development with Tactics podcast. Today, we are going through the last bit of a book summary. As far as I remember, I have started and I have not finished yet. Very important, yet. So, let me just check. Net Eliason. It should be, I think it is called Wisdom, as far as I remember. But we're going to see anyway. Whether it is this, that, or the other thing, it is going to be some book. And if we've actually gone through it already, we will go through something else. Something else that is really amazing. Wisdom by Peter Bevelin should be the case. Seeking Wisdom, there we go. We went pretty far so far, as far as I remember, but we have not finished. The Physics of Mathematics and Misjudgments. Guidelines to Better Thinking. Amen. I think this is where we stopped. Guidelines to Better Thinking. I could also just, check whether this is the case, but we're going to be fast anyway. Catalysis, whatever. A process in chemistry whereby once something gets going, it speeds up and keeps going on its own. This can't go on forever, but it is a useful model for finding ways where doing A can also get you B and C for a while. Not always, and not indefinitely, but for a while. More useful models, backup systems from engineering, breakpoints, critical mass from physics. Have a full kit of tools, go through them in your mind, checklist style. You need to base them on fundamental truths in order to do the soundest reasoning. You'll also find functional equivalence between disciplines. The concept of viscosity in chemistry is very similar to stickiness in economics. Create one-sentence explanations for big ideas. We get what we reward for. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, only changed from one form to another. An axiom, I guess. I don't actually remember. I think it is by Newton, isn't it? Anyway, it's one of a few. A simple way to learn more about reality is to look around us and ask why. Why is the tree standing? How can this be the case? Is it because of the roots? Is it because of something else? Why are the leaves green? Why is the screen bright? And so on and so forth. Of course, you're going to learn a really fucking lot by doing so, and by saying so, and by living such a life. A similar way to learn more about reality is to look around us. Feynman test for understanding. Without using the new word you have just learned, try to rephrase what you have learned in your own language. Without using the word energy, tell me what you know about the dog's motion. Using precise numbers is frequently foolish. Instead, it is better to work with a range of possible futures. What counts in investing is not how much they know, but how realistically they can define what they don't know. An investor needs to do very few things right as long as he or she avoids big mistakes. Yes, I have heard that before. I at least think that sometimes it just makes sense to not make mistakes. You don't always have to be right. You don't always have to be great. You don't always have to be the master of whatever you're doing. But trying to be mistaken the fewest times really does make sense and really is a good thing and something good to focus on. Ask the right questions. The formulation of a problem is often more essential than its solution, which may merely matter of mathematical or experimental skill. Avoid what causes the opposite of what you want to achieve. You must always invert. Would you be willing to see your action on the front page of a newspaper for everyone you know to see? I would say, because I thought about it, like, what action would I not like to be seen by anyone. And I wasn't really able to come up with something, but I thought about behavior that I've been encountering the past, I don't know, the past year or something. Very interesting, you know? So what is some behavior that you're seeing in other people and maybe also seeing in yourself that you really think is not good? And you really think is just, not serving anyone? Could you, for example, would you like to see this on the front page of a fucking newspaper? I doubt it. I really do. Live in the present. Don't be so concerned with the past or future. Manga on models. You need to best 100 or so models from microeconomics. Physiology, psychology, math, hard science, engineering, etc. You just need to take the really big ideas and learn them early and well. But you must learn them so that they become part of your ever-used repertoire, not just facts that you bang back to a professor. But you must learn them so they become part of your ever repertoire. Yes. And sometimes it also does not make much sense to, for example, learn certain... I do want to underline models. Manga on models. Models are concepts, and concepts really make sense to be learned. When it is about formulas, when it is about data, when it is about dates, it does not make any sense. Why? Well, maybe because I can Google it, and maybe because there's a calculator I can just use. But when I do not understand the concept of a certain action and of a certain thing, of a certain calculation, I cannot even use a calculator. Unless it is very well done and you can use it without even understanding the matter. But knowing models, knowing, maybe reasons, knowing concepts, this is a good idea. And this also really makes sense. Period. What I also wanted to say is, live in the present, don't be so concerned with the past or future. When one is living in the present and when one is trying to make the present as good as it can be, well, what is happening is that you're using your time every single day because you're living in the present as well as you can, which just makes the future good. And probably the past was also pretty good. Of course, one needs to start at some point to do so and to live like this. But yeah, period. Makes sense. What I really quickly wanted to check out is Albert Einstein's biography, because I think, even though he is a physicist, he died in Princeton, New Jersey. I didn't know that, and also relatively early. Aged 76. And he was stateland, then he was living in Switzerland, then in Austria, then so on and so forth, then in the United States. His education. This is interesting. Early life and education. Let's check that out. Because I've just read. He's having a PhD, yeah. Makes sense that he is having that. But he also... Okay, I see. Theses, awards, children, spouses. There on the right side you can see Federal Polytechnical School in Zurich, or Zurich, Federal Teaching Diploma 1900, and in the University of Zurich, a PhD 1905. So, does this mean that he's having a diploma? Probably... In physics, is this then something like a master? Nowadays it would be considered to be a master. Well, anyway. He was born in Ulm, in the Kingdom of Württemberg in the German Empire. And he was living in Munich, and so on and so forth. So, his IQ, what was his IQ? Einstein. academic career, by 1908 he was recognized as a leading scientist and was appointed lecturer at the University of Bern. The following year, after he gave a lecture on electrodynamics and the relativity principle at the University of Zurich, Alfred Kleiner recommended him to the faculty for a newly created professorship in theoretical physics. Einstein was appointed associate professor in 1909. 1904, he was aged 25, so he was a professor at 30, which is something to be said. Einstein became a full professor at the German Charles Ferdinand University in Prague in April 1911. So he was a full-fledged professor, aged 31, 32, accepting Austrian citizenship in the Austro-Hungarian Empire to do so. During his Prague stay, he wrote 11 scientific works, 5 of them on radiation mathematics and the quantum theory of solids. The New York Times reported something about him, travels abroad. Anyway, Einstein IQ, I think it was 156 or something. If I remember that correctly. What was Albert Einstein's IQ? The brilliant physicist was actually never tested, but that hasn't stopped some from estimating how he would have scored. Okay, 160. The maximum IQ score assigned by the WAISIV, a commonly used test today, is 160, and a score of 135 or above puts a person in the 99th percentile of the population. News articles often put Einstein's IQ at 160, though it is unclear what the estimate is based upon. If you Google Einstein IQ, you get plenty of results, but nothing that I would consider credible, says someone. Of course, Einstein was the greatest theoretical physicist of the 20th century, so he must have had a superlative IQ. But Simonton adds, if you closely examined Einstein's early intellectual development, his IQ seems far less striking. Einstein's thought experiment when he was a teenager helped scientists determine his IQ. So what is the point? That might have put Einstein at least on a par with the late Apple co-founder Steve Jobs. Weil has estimated that Jobs had an IQ of 160, upon Jobs having once said that as a 4th grader he tested at a level equivalent to a high school sophomore. I didn't actually know that. I didn't actually know that Jobs was so highly intellectual. The idea of attempting to estimate the IQs of long-dead intellectual giants isn't a new one. Back in 1926, researchers Catherine M. Cooks published estimates of the IQs of 301 historical figures, including Charles Dickens, Galileo Galilei, and Ludwig van Beethoven, based upon accounts of their youthful traits and achievements. So I think 160 is what it is. But yeah, with that being said, I wish you the best and see you soon. Bye bye.